Ever thought about how wild dating is these days? I lucked out. I met my husband at 18, but if you're in the dating game right now, let me introduce you to The League. The League is a premium dating platform that puts quality before quantity. If you're busy, ambitious, and tired of swiping through an endless stream of filtered faces, then it is perfect for you. A few months ago, I interviewed Amanda Bradford, the founder and CEO of The League, and I had such a fun time talking to her about the app and how unique it is. First up, not just anyone can join. You've got to apply and get accepted, so you'll be part of a highly engaged and safe community of like-minded, goal-oriented people like you. And instead of swiping endlessly, The League sends you personalized daily recommendations of the most compatible matches. It's like having a personal dating assistant. Now, The League isn't for casual flings or social climbers. It's for genuine folks with big dreams, career goals, and a real drive to find a meaningful long-term relationship. If you're ready to ditch dating frustration, download The League and apply today. Message #GoalDigger to your in-app concierge to jump to the front of the line.
Then it's a matter of identifying our zone of geniuses, our strengths, and how can we actually monetize it in a way where we can begin earning money and figure out a way to automate our life to where we're not having to go the day-to-day grind every day.
I'm Jenna Kutcher, your host of the Goal Digger podcast. I escaped the corporate world at the age of 23 with nothing more than a $300 camera from Craigslist and a dream. Now I'm running a 7-figure online business that feels even better than it looks, all from my house in small town Minnesota with my family. Here, we value time as our currency. We mix the woo and the work, and we are in the pursuit of building businesses that give us the freedom to live lives that we love. I've always loved turning big goals into reality, and I'm here to help you do the same. This isn't just a peek behind the curtain. Come along with me and my guests as we tear the whole curtain down. Every week, we tackle practical, no-fluff marketing strategies and host honest discussions on what works and what doesn't. Join me and my expert guests for actionable insights to help you grow your dream business with confidence. Pull up a seat and get ready to be challenged, inspired, and empowered. This is the Goal Digger podcast. What if I told you that you don't necessarily have to work harder in order to dig your biggest goals? Would you believe me, or would you think I'm crazy? My guest today has cracked the code on how to work less and earn more, and how you can also do the same. Yes, you heard that right. Erika Brown is a real estate investor and serial entrepreneur who went from living paycheck to paycheck to having a multi-million-dollar real estate empire that generates over 6 figures of real estate income each year. Her rental portfolio and experience cover everything from multifamily properties, single-family homes, land ownership, commercial properties, short-term and mid-term rentals, Section 8 rentals, and home building. And if all of that sounded like gibberish to you, don't leave, because you are going to be shocked at how she actually got started and how much it cost her to begin. She is so passionate about teaching others, especially women and people of color, how to invest in real estate that she's hosting her first real estate conference later this year. And she's giving away an entire house. Yes, you have to listen to that part. Now, Erika is a natural problem solver who enjoys helping others overcome any challenges of real estate investing. Her passion is to help others create passive income for themselves using real estate investing so that they can be freed up to pursue the things God has truly called them to do. And I just love today's episode because we go in so many different directions. So if you have never even considered real estate investing, or you're just curious about her journey, which is so interesting in and of itself, today's episode is for you. And I will tell you, there's one part in this episode where we uncovered something that I think could shift everything for you. And Erika figured this out. And I noticed it as a through line in this episode, and I called it out. And I will tell you, if you know this one thing, your whole business and your life is going to change. So without further ado, welcome to the Goal Digger podcast, Erika. It's no secret that starting a business is hard. Even if you have an amazing idea, bringing it to life can be super overwhelming. HubSpot's new entrepreneurship kit is designed to help you go from idea generator to full-fledged business owner. And let me tell you, I wish I had this when I was first starting my business. This all-inclusive kit takes the guesswork out of entrepreneurship with step-by-step guides, practical resources, and easy-to-use templates. It literally walks you through every stage of starting a business and even has freelance documents, pricing worksheets, and loads more to help you get up and running immediately. Now, the best part is that it's free at HubSpot.com/ENT. With expert guidance from HubSpot, starting a business doesn't have to be hard, so don't wait to start yours. Head to HubSpot.com/ENT to download the free entrepreneurship kit, all from a company who knows a thing or two about growing bigger and better. That's HubSpot.com/ENT. Okay, Erika, we both know that a lot of people have clicked on this episode about working less and earning more, and God bless them, they are skeptics. So give it to us straight. Is passive revenue a real thing?
Yes and no.
Yes.
I'm sorry I can't give you a straight answer, but yes and no. So I am an investor through and through. Yes, I invest in real estate. That's my sweet spot, but I am an investor through and through. So I invest not only in real estate, but also in businesses and stocks too. So some of the income that I do earn is truly, truly passive. Like I just collect checks. I don't have to do anything. And then some of the income that I earn, I do a little bit of work for it. And some of it, maybe I work for a small period of time, but then everything else is passive. So that's why I say yes and no.
Yes. I feel like this is such a both and thing.
Yes.
And I love how you explain this because I think there are pockets of passive income. And so often we see like the really clickbaity, like Instagram things of like, I just got this much, but like I didn't do anything. And I think most of us savvy entrepreneurs know that there is some sort of exchange happening, whether it is energetic, whether it is time, whether it is money to get something off the ground. And so I love how you do that. So I want to kind of know, let's dive deeper into this. Like, how did you get into all these different ways of investing? Was this natural for you? Was this something you had to learn? Did your parents teach you? Like, give it to me straight.
No, I did not. My parents did not teach me. We owned our house, one house growing up, and we were so grateful to own that house. That's it. So definitely did not grow up being an investor or even thought of this idea. I worked at a bank. I was a bank manager, and I was a mom. Well, I am a mom, but I was a mom of young children. And just felt like I love what I do and I'm climbing the corporate ladder, but I'm also I want to spend more time with the kids. I'm feeling guilty and this, the struggle and the tug of war that,
yes.
We talk about a lot. And so I'm in that place and I'm learning and I'm trying to get up the corporate ladder and I just keep hitting this ceiling. And I'm like, okay, God, there has to be something else. And so thankfully, because I'm at the bank, I actually get to meet all these amazing people. And so I notice whether I am talking to a successful entrepreneur, or another high income earning individual, they all have one thing in common. They all invest in real estate. And so that was the first just exposure to saying, I need to learn more about this. And then I began to learn and dive deep into it.
What did it look like learning? Because I feel like real estate, I was very much raised like you. We had one home. We lived in the same home all the way. My parents just sold it after like 30 or 40 years. So what did it look like even dipping your toe into that water of exploring it? Because that had to be something like that was so different.
Yes, it was very different. One of the things that initially attracted me to real estate was that it has such a low barrier of entry versus stocks or any other type of investment. Lots of other investments, you have to actually have a lot of money to earn money. But real estate was that one thing as I began reading. Like one of the first books I read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's a very common book. I really recommend it for a first time person who's interested in real estate. But being able to read that book and then begin understanding that real estate can actually start with, like, I started investing with $3,000. Like we bought our first house. It was a foreclosure. Yeah. And we bought it and we got a first time home buyer loan and we put down $3,000 and we rented out our basement to a friend at our church to help us pay for childcare. And that was our first investment. And so, now almost less than a decade later, we own multi-million dollars in real estate from that one first investment. And so, name another type of investment that you can do that.
Yeah. So we love real estate as well. And I just kind of figured out really early on, I would always do the math of like, how much does this cost? And at what point would we be just bringing in profits, right? Take away the expense. Like, what does that look like? And the time frame in the window can actually be rather short. And I think a lot of people think, it's going to take 30, 40, 50 years, especially if they saw their parents paying their mortgages their entire lives. And so it's such an interesting world, but I feel like it can be really intimidating, especially given the economy and the shifts and the interest rates and all these things happening where people are like even questioning, can I own a house for myself, let alone as an investment? So talk to me about that.
Yes, that the fear is very real.
Yeah.
My suggestion when the fear is there, that's a sign of a lack of knowledge. So when you begin increasing your knowledge, the good thing is we're in an information age where you can go to YouTube, you can go to Instagram, and you can learn so much. And so being able to actually learn from people like my story and other stories out there, it really does help to demystify this idea of how complicated it is, because it is intimidating. But once you actually begin to break it down and just go one house at a time, it really does open up a whole world for you.
So talk to me, let's kind of go back to that initial question of like, how much work does it take? Because I think for some people, they are overwhelmed by the idea, let alone the work. So walk me through give me an example of one of the properties you own and kind of how that works, because I think it's so fascinating.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm here in Georgia. And we moved here maybe 14 years ago, and we love going to the mountains. That's like our thing. We went every year. We would rent a cabin. We would go to the mountains. And so a few years ago, we decided that we were going to buy our own cabin. And so we decided we're going to buy a cabin. We got a vacation home loan, so we didn't have to put down 20%. We put down only 10%. And so we bought the cabin, we closed on it, and we wanted to buy something that we have to do a little bit of work towards, so we can set it up and we can like take our time and like come on the weekends and casually, begin to renovate it and then rent it out. So we took about 6 months or so, and we would come on the weekends, and while we were there, we would paint, we would renovate, we would go to local thrift shops and restock the home. And so after about 6 months of just weekends dedicated towards renovating that property, then we were like, okay, we're ready to go. We put it on Airbnb, and now that property does really well every month. Not only do we cover the expenses, but we also make money, and we get to visit it when we want to. So we had a short period of time that we decided to devote to getting it up and ready, or what I call stabilizing the property. And then once it's stabilized, then we can go away and work on something else. And that property now just collects income. And even on a management basis, we set up a team and systems to where maybe about 1 or 2 hours a week it takes for us to manage it. And I've trained my son to actually be the property manager of the property.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we have a very similar situation. We've had the same team for 7 years. They feel like an extension of our family. And even this morning we woke up and I'm like, hey babe, you got to let William know if he can check out late today. And like, so we're very in it, and it's not fully passive, but like you can kind of choose how active you want it to be, whether you want to fully outsource it. I have a family member who owns homes and they fully outsource that. And they're very hands off. And like, I like to know like who's staying and like, what are they celebrating? And I don't know, like that just gives me so much joy. And so it is such a fun thing. And my husband does the majority of that, but I'll like poke in there and like send people recommendations and things like that. So it is so fun. What does your son think about it? Like, is this inspiring him?
Oh yeah, he loves it. He loves it. He's always sending them tips, and like when we're in town, we go to these places. And, and then it's really great because my husband and my son will visit the property like once a month. And so they'll go and he'll restock everything. So he's really invested in it because he's involved, and we really love that. We try to keep our kids involved as much as possible.
I love that. Okay. So we've covered a bit of real estate, and I have a feeling we're going to circle back. But I'm curious about some of the other ways that you work less to earn more. And I do feel, Erika, and I'm not sure if you feel this too, but I feel like there is this like collective, I don't want to call it an awakening, but this collective energy happening, especially among women who have careers and are choosing careers and maybe also have families or maybe are considering that, where it's like, I don't want to do the grind, right? I think most of us can relate to like the grind is required, the hustle is required to get the dream off the ground. But if hustle is the only way of sustaining it, like don't sign me up for that. And the more conversations I have with women, the more that I feel like there is just this kind of era that we're entering where it's like, I want to like do a job that I love and I want to live a life that I love. Yes. And so this idea of like figuring out ways to earn more without working more. Let's talk about that.
Yes. And one, I always say for women, one, we have to get to a place where we understand and we feel like we're actually worthy of that.
Yes.
Because that's the first thing, because we're constantly giving to everyone else. And we feel bad when we take time for ourselves. So we have to get to a place of like, hey, I'm actually worthy of being able to work less and earn more.
Yes.
Then once we get to that place, then it's a matter of like identifying our zone of geniuses, our strengths, and how can we actually monetize it in a way where we can begin earning money and figure out a way to automate our life to where we're not having to go the day-to-day grind every day.
Yes. Hiring new team members used to have me nervous, but as I've grown my team, I developed my own unique hiring strategy that has allowed me to build a collaborative, powerful work culture. And a massive part of that strategy has been LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs is perfect for finding the right professionals for your team faster and for free. It's so fast that 86% of small businesses find a qualified candidate within 24 hours. And it isn't just a job board, it's where you'll find amazing candidates you won't see anywhere else. 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you are missing out big time. I recently hired a strategic partnership manager and LinkedIn made it seamless. Posted the job and in a matter of hours, I had solid options to choose from. Brooke stood out immediately. Her experience was a perfect match and she's been hired and an amazing addition to our team. In fact, I have hired my last 6 team members using LinkedIn. It is just that easy. Join the 2.5 million small businesses that use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/Jenna. That's linkedin.com/Jenna to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Is your LinkedIn profile gathering dust? If so, you are wasting a huge opportunity. LinkedIn is where you need to be if you're selling to other businesses and you're serious about driving real results. Imagine you're hosting the ultimate business mixer and LinkedIn is your VIP guest list. I'm talking about over 1 billion members, including 180 million senior level executives and 10 million C-level big shots. These are the people who can make things happen. On other platforms, it can feel like you're shouting into the void, but with LinkedIn ads, you're having meaningful conversations and building relationships with decision makers who are actually interested in what you have to offer. This is a place where people actually expect and appreciate professional outreach. LinkedIn generates 2 to 5 times higher return on ad spend compared to other social platforms. And this is why 79% of B2B content marketers say LinkedIn is their top choice for paid media. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit on your next campaign. Head to linkedin.com/goal to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/goal. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, so let's talk about that first part because I think that is huge about understanding. I am doing so much therapy right now, Erika, just around this wiring that is so innate in me of like, if I just work harder, everything will be fine. Like, I think so many of us have been wired this way by being, people pleasers or performers or, athletes or like whatever that looks like. And man, it is so much work to like unwire and rewire in the way of like, I am worthy of rest and I'm worthy of joy. Have you found anything that has helped you kind of sink into that worthiness more?
Yes, I do a lot of mindset work because especially for me, I run a business, but I also homeschool my kids too at the same time. And so that could be kind of crazy. And I really enjoy it. And I want to be able to do both. So I intentionally work on my mindset, whether it is therapy, whether it is, I really plug into a group of women who are also moms, who are also business owners. And we like intentionally travel annually and we get on the calls every month. And I really tap into those networks
Yeah.
and just remind myself on a day-to-day basis, like I'm doing my best and what the work that I am putting in is actually serving my family and is bringing me joy. And I deserve that. And that's okay.
Amen. Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about the second part because I think you tapped into something really powerful. It's almost like the unconscious competence in women is astounding. And I don't know about you, Erica, but I have so many women in my circle who I'm like, you are a stinking genius at this. Or like, if everyone knew how to do this thing, how you do it, the world would be better.
Yes.
And yet as women, we are so quick to squash our goodness, to squash the things that set us apart. Do you have any advice on how to like uncover what we are good at? Because I also feel like women are so hard on ourselves and like, we don't even see it. We're just so close to it.
Yes, no, 1000%. So you have assessments. Of course, you have like, I'm big on the assessments. I love this assessment called Working Genius. Mm-hmm. It really does help to identify like what are your natural strengths and how you work. Enneagram, I know you're big on Enneagram. Yeah. I love that. But also really being able to say like, what do people constantly come to me for? Okay, whether that's advice on something specific or whether that's asked for me, it was asking me advice about like financial moves and real estate. So naturally, that's how I actually started my company, helping people learn how to invest. Literally, it was just a group of friends who were like, hey, can you teach me? And I didn't have time to teach 30 people individually. Right. So we started a company, you know? And so what are people like, what are the problems around you that people are bringing to you? And how can you actually turn that into a business to help you solve it that actually gives you joy and fuels you and also creates, you know, income. And then from there, you can figure out what are ways I can make this passive through automation and all the things.
Okay. So you just touched on something so good. And when you're like, I can't teach 30 people, like I don't have time to sit down for 30 coffee dates. Yeah. I think that that is something that people don't recognize as the value of their time. And when you recognize that, that is like where you start to think, okay, how could I create something once, but serve many people? Like everyone's asking me this one question. Could I create a piece of content or a podcast episode or a YouTube video or a free download? Like that is how we get our value out into the world, but it is so much smarter. And people don't feel as guilty asking you for help when they know that you have something that you can easily get to them, right? So it's like, we're planting a garden. And one of my friends, Nicole Burke, she is like this amazing gardener. And she like goes to people's houses and do all of this. And I was like, I am going to look through all of her free content. I bought her book. I bought her course. And I was like, she's already created everything that I could have questions about. Like, I don't need to text her my questions. She's got this content free. And so I love that. Tell me about like the starting of your business. What did that look like? And did you realize that you had that unconscious competence as you were learning?
No, I definitely did not realize I had the unconscious competent. So I was starting to invest and, you know, we were buying our first house and then we was like, okay, this is actually easier than we thought. Let's buy a few more. Yeah. And I would just share what I was doing with my friends along the way because I'm so happy. Every time I learn something new, I'm always sharing with other people. And so then I started, because I'm also a real estate agent, I started helping people buy and sell homes. But then I was like, okay, how can so many people are coming to me, so let me figure out how to do this in an effective, efficient way. So then I started this community. I call it the Owning It and Living It community because we actually believe in owning it through ownership, but also living it at the same time. We don't subscribe to the hustle culture. Yeah. So the beautiful thing that I didn't realize once I started this company and started teaching in these groups is the beautiful community that came from it. Because a lot of times we are the first ones to do this. We're the first one to become entrepreneurs. We're the first one to become investors. And that can feel very isolating. You can feel very alone. And so I had no idea that this amazing community of supportive people who are coming together and just loving on each other. Now we have people who are like best friends and traveling and doing all these things just from me saying yes. So sometimes it's like, you saying yes can really unlock opportunities to change other people's lives. Mm-hmm. And so I'm super grateful to have that opportunity to be able to do that.
So I want to know, where would somebody begin? So if we've like piqued their curiosity, like, do they go on to like Zillow? Like, where do we start with this? Because I feel like It's overwhelming to start. And the only reason we got into it is that we were like wandering around and saw an open house and like stumbled into it and then started running the numbers. Like I was literally doing napkin math at a coffee shop and was like, I think we could do this. So where do we begin?
Yes. So you're going to be surprised, but I actually suggest that you don't begin on Zillow and you don't even begin with real estate. You begin with the lifestyle that you want to live. So you decide on, look, my husband and I would do an annual planning like weekend, and we begin thinking about what do we want our life to look like, feel like, what do we want to give our time to? You start there. Once you do that, now you actually say, how much does this life cost? Okay. And then once you identify what this life costs, then you say, okay, according to what this life costs, we need to bring in an additional, $3,000 a month. Okay. Let's just say that. So then we say, okay, if we want to accomplish this plan in 3 years, then that means that we need to add $1,000 to our portfolio every single year to be able to get towards this dream. So then you go to Zillow and you go to, basically, I would say a mentor is going to be your like best bet, whether there's someone in your community around you that is a real estate investor, or you find an online community that can help you. Then you find a mentor, because a mentor can help you to develop a specific strategy. Maybe it is Airbnb, maybe it is multifamily properties. Having that mentor and giving you guidance will help you to identify exactly how you need to accumulate that $1,000 to your portfolio per year, so that now when you go to a real estate agent, you're like, okay, real estate agent, I'm looking for a condo that is this amount of money, that's going to generate this amount of income per month. And you're able to be super specific. And once you have clarity, then that's when you're able to actually be able to accomplish your goals much faster and quicker. So the quicker you can get to that clarity and past the confusion, and usually a mentor can help you fast track that, then you are able to begin doing open houses and all the other stuff.
I love this. And I just think it is so powerful to start with the vision first. And I love looking at real estate just for fun. And it's like, it's so fun. I'm like, what does the inside of this house look like? But I think it can be so overwhelming. So I love the vision first. And I love, because when you get so specific, it's kind of like when you're online shopping and you're like, I need a red shirt. I want it to be this, cut. I need this length of sleeves. It narrows everything down. So it takes away the overwhelm and it gives you the options. Yes. I'm like, we need that. We need that. And so I love that. And I also have found that there are so many different Facebook communities out there for like different geographic areas of like real estate investors. And one of my really good friends who's a mom at my daughter's school, they're really big into real estate investing. And she's like, all of our deals are like who you know, not like what you see. Like they never even make it on to Realtor Zillow. And so I do think that it is such a beautiful thing to even just join a Facebook community and see the questions that are coming up, or see who are the experts in the area that are responding, because it's a free way to data mine and get insight, but also to like start to dip your toe into the water. I know my husband just went to a real estate conference. And I was like, oh, they have those? I always forget that there are so many different niches out there where like you could find a conference for anything. And it's such an amazing industry with some really good information out there where it's like, you don't have to go it alone. So I love that you talk about that. So inside of your community, how else do you serve your community members?
Oh man, lots of different ways. So we start from even the person who's like, I don't really have money, but I need some direction. We have free resources on our website, we have on-demand courses. And then as you continue to essentially level up your investing and level up your desire to invest, we have programs and groups that allow you to be able to get more access to myself and my coaches. We also have a podcast, and we actually do have a conference. So we have all these different ways where people can learn and plug in and get community based on their situation and the season of life that they are in.
I will never forget an anniversary trip that Drew and I took years ago where we drove the Pacific Coast Highway from LA to San Francisco. And I was so excited because I was in charge of booking the Airbnbs for the trip. And after looking through all of our options, I found the one. Found this farmhouse where we could rent out a room and wake up and collect our own eggs for breakfast in the morning, feed their alpacas, and play with their goats. When we arrived at this Airbnb, the hosts were there waiting for us with a chilled bottle of wine. They showed us our room and bathroom, and then they gave us a tour of their farm. Now, looking back, that trip planted a seed for us to dream about owning our own rental property and not overcomplicating the process. Since then, we've become real estate lovers and super hosts on Airbnb, and honestly, it is one of my favorite parts of my job. Now, something that people don't realize is that you don't necessarily need an investment property to do this. You can create an Airbnb revenue stream from your own home or even host a single room in your house. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host. I have to ask you this because people ask us all the time. Do you have any crazy stories of like your guests? I feel like that is like the number one thing that people are like, okay, tell me what really happens. And it's like 99.9% of the time we have like the most amazing guests in the entire world. So do you have any good stories?
I do. I'm trying to figure out which one because I have one that's a little, but it's just crazy. Okay.
All right.
My first ever guest was Airbnb.
Okay.
And, we bought the property and renovated it and worked really hard. I mean, you know what that's like.
Yep.
And then we finally got our first guest. It was on Friday night. And I was at home and I had a Ring camera and I was like watching the camera all night. And I noticed that there were like a lot of people. A lot of guys coming in the house. I was just like, what is happening? And so I'm like freaking out, thinking they're going to tear up my house and all my hard work is going to be gone. And I overhear one of the guys basically says that the lady is a prostitute. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. So then the next day I'll say, okay, well, let's wait and see what happens. And, maybe things will kind of calm down. And then so the next day I start to see the patterns again. I was like, hey, I just want to know that we may have to, do something else because we have unexpected guests. I just had to come up with a reason for that to end. And it did. She was really nice. And, I wanted to be respectful, but to say, hey, we can't have any extra guests here. Yeah. But that was my very first guest. So for some people, that would have been like, okay, never mind. We're not doing this anymore.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Really crazy stories.
Oh, well, and it's so interesting because I feel like overall you have such respectful people. We had one guest and I felt so bad, but we had this glass coffee table. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure that there was some extracurricular activities happening with the glass coffee table because it broke. And we were like trying to understand like how that happened because it was like inlaid and like, like, we're not going to ask too many questions. Don't worry about the table. As long as no one's hurt, we'll totally take care of it. But it's interesting. But I think too, and this would be a good point to make, is that like what you're looking for, you'll see. So if you're looking for an excuse of like, this isn't going to work, you're going to find that. But also if you're looking for an excuse of like, hey, there's going to be a couple bad apples out of the whole bunch. And like, I am confident enough to handle that and whatever comes with it, then you're also going to see that too.
That's the worst. Like, that is the worst situation we've ever had.
Yeah.
So many people have been amazing. So, yes, for sure.
Okay. So give me like what a day-to-day looks like. You homeschool, you manage properties, you have a community. How are you not working 24/7?
That's a good question. So from a day-to-day standpoint, I get up early to work in the morning. I do my deep kind of work in the morning. I have prayer and just have my own time when no one is like bugging me or asking me for something. That's when I also write a lot and do things like that. And then once everyone begins to come up, I'll go on a walk or a workout. My family and I will eat breakfast together. And then I'll do my homeschool time with the kids, whether that's at home or a field trip or, during that kind of like between 10 a.m. and like 1 p.m. Then after that, I'll check in with my team, Slack, ask them if they have any questions, things like that. And that's kind of it. And that's how I flow. And so, and then maybe once a month or a couple times a month, I have calls in the evening, maybe one night a week with my clients, and I'm helping them troubleshoot through things. And I really like it because I get to flow pretty well. So I work about 3 days a week for a few hours, and we travel every quarter. What else? I mean, I'm able to like take Mondays off, Fridays off, weekends off. And so we're able to just work at a small amount of time, but very efficiently. And I do think that that's also because of my team as well. I have created a team over time of A players. I like to say A players. And so they're really good at what they do. And so I'm able to communicate the vision, and then they're able to actually execute it and put it together.
What do you think made you realize that like you didn't want to hustle? Was there anything in your life?
Hustling.
Yeah.
And burning out.
The burnout. Do you have a story about that? Because I just feel like so many people have that. And it's like when you meet people on the other side, you know that there was the other side of that led them to this point. What was that like for you?
For sure. I mean, it was a situation where I had someone in my family that were having really hard mental health issues, and they needed our support. And so it was a matter of, I have this one-on-one call that I have to be on with this client, or I need to be able to support this family member. And having to make that decision and getting to a place of just feeling like I was just showing up and being a robot and not even like really fully engaged in what I was doing really led me to like breaking everything down. I took the summer off. I hired a coach, and I just had to go back and figure out, one, do I want to continue to run this business? Do I want to continue to do this? And are there better ways that I'm missing that I can continue to serve my clients and live out my dreams without sacrificing my time? And so that was a really big pivotal moment for me in my career. And I'm really grateful for it, even though it was really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like everyone has a story like that, where it's like you hit a point and you're like, this isn't it. Like, it's not sustainable, even if it's successful by the world standards. When it's not sustainable, that's not it. And it can be a hard realization, right? Because I'm sure you had built something really beautiful. And I think too, it's like, we don't talk about it enough. When we have those moments too, it's like usually when we're like kind of at the mountaintop of what we've been building. And it can be so disappointing to realize like, this ain't it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's talk about where someone should begin if they are kind of finding themselves in the rat race of like, the only way to earn more is to work more. And they're maybe curious about figuring out a better rhythm, a better passive income opportunity. Where would you recommend starting?
First, I would recommend, if they are in a place of burnout and there is an outlet to pause, it may not be in a pretty outlet, but if there is a way that they can pause, I found that rest helps me to be creative and to be able to get unstuck. Because when you're in it, your creativity is low and you have a really hard time to figure out how to get out of it. So if they can get to a place of pause, that really does help them to take inventory of the opportunities that are around them, where they can begin learning more about to see if that is a potential investment opportunity that they can take advantage of. For the person who cannot do that, who cannot stop and pause, I would say focus on the one thing. Instead of looking at that long list of 10 things that I have to do, how can you focus on the one thing that can drive the most impact and really have a conversation with the people in your life to help delegate the rest? That can actually also help you to be able to narrow down the things that you're doing so that you could be able to take inventory of the potential investment opportunities that are around you. Whether that is investing in stocks or say, hey, I have this extra space in my house. I have a basement, I have an attic, I have a garage. Let me try to like convert this into a space. Or even if you're like, okay, I'm going on vacation this summer and I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. Let me see if I can try this Airbnb thing. Let me try to just rent out my house for 2 weeks and see how I feel about that. And that doesn't even require a lot of money to get started. That can give you an opportunity to try it out to see if you like it, and it can help you pay for your vacation too. And so there's just these small ways. I feel like by the time someone gets to me, when they are really interested in investing and they see the value of investments, they've already taken some small risk somewhere else and found some small success. So now they're ready to level up to the next level.
One thing that I just keep thinking as you speak, Erika, is that you understand something that so many people do not, and it will totally change their lives. You understand that when you get knowledge, you can compound the results from that knowledge over and over and over again. And you've talked about it, reading books, hiring mentors, taking courses, going to events, all of these things. And I feel like people miss this piece.
Yes.
And they want the results, but they aren't willing to like get the knowledge that will get them there. And I feel like the people that have found the most success and that have the privilege to hit pause are the people that understand, if I can learn something once or take someone else's system and make it work for me, I get to keep the results over and over and over again. Do you agree? Because I'm like, everything you're saying, I'm like, she gets it. She gets
1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah. What was your first investment in learning? Because I feel like that is always like, if somebody's listening to this and they've never bought an online course or they've never hired a mentor or they've never considered a coach, what was your first investment? Because I feel like it just takes one and you recognize like, I can invest in learning and I know I'll do the work. And the rest is history.
It was great. It was a $37 entrepreneurial business class. I remember I was still at the bank and I had started my side hustle real estate company. And I just wanted to understand how to be a business owner. And that one little class really did unlock it unlocked a lot more opportunity than that $37. So I remember they said in the class, they said, as a business owner, you have to value your time. And sometimes for those of us who are DIY, do it yourself, everything, you need to focus on the $1,000 an hour task versus spending your time doing $10 an hour task. That was a game changer for me. And if I had not invested $37 to go to this little seminar, then I would have missed that. And that helped me to really scale my business way faster. Like I had people who were like, I built a real estate team when I was a new agent. My broker was like, I'm sorry, you don't even know what you're doing. Why are you hiring someone? But I understood that concept.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. And that's where I think this whole conversation, this is like how we can tie it up in the most beautiful bow of like, if you truly want to work less and earn more, the biggest thing I would argue would be education and learning. And you don't know what you don't know. And that's a beautiful thing about being a human, but it also should challenge us to continue to dig deeper into what we don't know. And I feel like, Erika, your story is like the perfect pinnacle of like seeing that. And as soon as you saw it, you couldn't unsee it, right? And it changed everything. And it also changed your community's lives. And I think that you made such a beautiful point earlier of like, you playing small is not just hurting your future, but it's hurting the people that you can impact, the people that you can touch, and the ripple effects. Like, look at even the generational impact of having your son be involved, what that means for him and maybe his children, maybe his children's children, if they decide to procreate. But like, it's just beautiful that we have this opportunity to choose. So my final question for you is this, because we talked about vision. What is a vision that you are currently working towards in your life?
Oh my gosh, I love this. My big vision, I can't believe I'm sharing this publicly. So this is like a big deal. Okay, Jenna?
Let's go, girl.
I really want to be a hub where you can go, like a publication where you go and you see people like me and other women, and because my industry is very male dominated. So I want to be a hub where you can go and you can read books or take courses or listen to podcasts, all on real estate and personal finance from people who look like you and have been able to have the same experiences that you have. So not only where you can books and podcasts and courses, but also tools and calculators and spreadsheets, and just being a one size fits all from the perspective of women and minorities. That's like my dream that we are working towards. And we're starting with our conference. It's like our biggest thing we're doing this year. And we're giving away a whole house at the conference, which is crazy. But I'm really excited to see that dream and more people be impacted by this information and to know like you can do it too. You really can.
Yes. Okay. So now everyone's dying. Where can they connect with you? Join your community, learn more about the conference. Give us all of the places.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 places. 1, you want to follow me on Instagram. I'm very active on IG. Erika Brown Investor, Erika Brown Investor. 2, I have a podcast called Wealth Within Reach. And we talk about building wealth in a different kind of way. So it's really awesome. And then lastly, our website, owningitandlivingit.com.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. This was so fun. And I think you just made a beautiful point about how male-dominated real estate is and how intimidating it can feel. And so I'm just so grateful for anyone in my community who is even considering or questioning. Go seek out Erika and all of her resources. Erika, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
When we hung up the call, Erika shared something with me and she said, that was the most fun I've ever had on an interview. And she said, usually I get really boxed into one area of just talking about real estate. And of course, she is passionate about it. That is what she teaches. That is how she lives. But I noticed so many amazing things that Erika does and that she believes in that allows her to see this level of success. And I just think, man, having that vision and understanding that investment and really learning some of those pieces are the key ways that we as women and as entrepreneurs can really unlock a level of more ease and freedom in our lives. And man, she figured it out. And I'm so grateful for this conversation today. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Goal Digger Podcast. And of course, until next time, keep on digging your biggest goals. Thanks for pulling up a seat for another episode of the Goal Digger Podcast. I hope today's episode fueled you with inspiration, gave you information that you can turn into action, and realigned you with your true north in life and business. If you've enjoyed today's episode, head on over to goaldiggerpodcast.com for today's show notes, discount codes for our sponsors, freebies to fuel your results, and so much more. And if you haven't yet, make sure you're subscribed so that you never miss a future show. We'll see you next time, Goal Diggers.